3. But he spoke to them. Have you not read what David did when he and those with him were hungry? 4. How he went into the house of prayer and ate the showbread, which neither he nor those with him were permitted to do, but only the priests? 5. Or have you not read in the law how on the Sabbath the priests in the temple violate the Sabbath and yet are without guilt? 6. Truly, truly, I say to you, you brood of snakes and adders, a stone will turn into bread before no work may be done on the Sabbath. You make your discretions into laws, in which case, however, these have no equal value with laws. 7. Your approvals are made by you yourselves and by your false prophets and priests without discernment, intellect, as are also many other approvals by human beings. For even much of these discretions are against the laws and recommendations of the creation, because they are contradictions to them, because they contradict them. Therefore, an approval by the human beings does not correspond to a true law. So it is truly a discretion that is completely open to question, doubtful. 8. False prophets and distorters of the scriptures are the guilty ones responsible for these false discretions, which you lay out as laws. So because of these laws, because you follow them, you contradict the laws and recommendations of the creation and of nature. 9. You wrongly teach that which is deemed to be good by the human being, that the Sabbath is to be kept holy, and thus no one is to fulfill the day's work. But a discretion does not correspond to the truth, and it contradicts the fresh, healthy power of thought, the intellect, because that which is deemed to be good corresponds to a false and confused teaching from the spirit consciousness of the human being, human consciousness. 10. Truly I say to you, no Sabbath is to be honored as that which is deemed to be good or as a law. And no law of the creation dictates that no work is to be done on the Sabbath. 11. Thus, the Sabbath is a day like any other day, on which the day's work is to be done. But every day is to be appreciated as a day of celebration, so that each consciousness duty is done worthily. So that each conscientiousness duty is done worthily. 12. Everything is written thus in the old writings of the laws and recommendations of the true prophets. So it is also written in the writings of the true prophets, that the false prophets and distorters of the scriptures and Pharisees falsify the writings of the true teaching of the prophets, and will also do this in the coming time. 13. And he walked on from there and came into their temple, where he continued to teach the people. 14. And behold, there was a man who had a badly swollen hand. And they asked him, is it also right that one becomes healed on the Sabbath, in order that they would have a further cause against him? 15. But he spoke to them, you hypocrites, you are without eyes and ears and without discernment, intellect. If you could be given all these, then you could see, hear, and understand. But you are blind, unattentive, and without discernment, intellect, because you lack the knowledge that you may see the nature and may hear and understand it. Therefore, you lack the cognition into the laws and recommendations of the creation, so you do not see, hear, or understand that the creation does not keep the Sabbath holy, does not control, honor, or appreciate the Sabbath. 16. Every Sabbath day, the creation rotates the stars in the firmament and regulates the sun and winds and rains and nourishes all creatures on earth. It keeps the rivers flowing in their beds and everything goes its normal course. So day to day, and on each Sabbath as on any other Sabbath, just as the creation made it. (18) But are not human beings much more than all creatures and plants? Thus they are masters over them all when they follow the true laws of the creation. 19. You brood of snakes and adders, you distorters of the scriptures and falsifiers of the teaching who, because of your greed for compensation, money, and might, spread confused teachings. If you had only one sheep and it fell into a pit on the Sabbath day, who among you would not take hold of it and pull it out? 20. How much more now is a human being than a sheep, and than your confused teachings, which you teach untruthfully, lyingly, and falsely and confusedly. Then he spoke to the man with the swelled hand. Stretch out your hand. 22. And he stretched it out. And Jmmanuel coated it with a herbal ointment. And he also gave the man a small pot of the ointment, so that he could coat his hand with it every day. 23. And when Jmmanuel had applied the herbal ointment and had given the small pot, he said that the hand would be healed again in 3 days and would be equally healthy as the other. 24. Then the Pharisees went out and held counsel about him, on how they could assassinate and seriously murder him, since he saw through and recognized their lies and confused teachings and made them known in front of the people. 25. When Jmmanuel recognized their insidiousness, he withdrew from there, and a small crowd of people followed him, whom he taught. And there followed him some sick people, and he treated all of them, so they soon became healthy after a few days. 26. He warned them, however, that they should not spread the news about him, because he was afraid that he would be captured and put to death by torture, as he had seen in his foresight. 27. But his dedication to the truth prevailed, and so he continued to reveal his teaching and the wisdom to the human beings, even though he knew what would happen to him when they got at him, got hold of him, captured him. Therefore, he would be delivered over to the court. Chapter 14, Judas Ischkerioth's Wrongdoings. 1. And it came to pass that Jmmanuel and his disciples and discipluses went to Bethlehem, where he taught and instructed the people. 2. But I, Judas Ischkerioth, I who take up, hold in writings many truths about Jmmanuel, had become disloyal to the teaching of Jmmanuel, and lived only for my pleasures and desires. 3. Secretly, I was collecting from Jmmanuel's attendees, audiences, accumulating gold, silver, and copper in my money bag, because I wanted to live vainly. 4. And it happened that Judas Ischkerioth, who crowded around Jmmanuel, and who was the son of the Pharisee Simeon Ischkerioth, and who came from the small farm, Ischkerioth in Galilee, and who belonged to a covenant sect against the manpower Roman occupation, informed Jmmanuel of my wrongdoings, because he hoped that he would be rewarded. 5. But Emmanuel thanked him and did not repay him with any gifts whatsoever. So Judas Ischkerioth thought of revenge, for he was greedy for gold, silver, and goods, and was obsessively, lustfully connected to wretched and shameful whoring women. 6. But I, Judas Ischkerioth, was led by Emmanuel into the desert by the Jordan, where for 3 days and 3 nights he taught me much in the teaching of right and unright. Thus I, as his disciple, showed remorse and thereupon followed the teaching of Emmanuel. 7. When I returned to the city, I distributed all my possessions and the collections among the poor and became a trusted disciple of Emmanuel. 8. At that time, however, it happened that the writings, notes about Emmanuel and his accomplishments, works, were stolen from me. Judas Ischkerioth. Therefore, all records in which I reported on the teaching of Emmanuel were stolen from me, so I reported it to him. 9. But he spoke. Truly, truly, I say to you, Judas Iscariot, you will suffer even further worse things. For not only are your records, writings, notes about my teaching and my life gone, lost, stolen, but it will also be that you will be slandered, calumniated. 10. For over 2 times 1,000 years, you will be innocently accused of betraying me, because Simeon Ischkerioth, the Pharisee, wants it so. And Simeon Ischkerioth, the Pharisee, writes a scroll in which he calumniates you and me, that we have formed an agreement, pact together, that you will betray me and I should be captured and killed, so that my teaching will be preserved and will be testimony, will be handed down for all time. But his son, Judas Ischkerioth, is the real culprit. is the real culprit. He is formed like his father, Simeon Ischkerioth, the Pharisee who seeks my life. 13. He is therefore the one who stole the writings from you and brought them to the scribes and Pharisees, that they may thereby judge me, and put me to death. 14. He received 70 pieces of silver for your records, notes, and writings. He is to receive another 30 pieces of silver when he makes it possible to betray me to the executors. 15. Truly I say to you, he will certainly succeed in this, and for 2 times 1,000 years you will innocently atone for it, so you will become a tormented one, martyr. 16. But write down my teaching and the truth about my life another time, for the time will come when your writing will be revealed in 2 times 1,000 years. 17. Until then, my teaching will be falsified, and it will turn into an evil cult, religion, sect, and thus it will be that much human blood will flow because of the new cult, Christianity, and its sects, which will wrongly arise from my teaching and bring forth many zealots, fanatics. 18. And the supreme one, highest one of the Christian cult equals Pope, will be appointed for the new cult, Christianity. And he will call himself the representative deputy in my name, and the representative, agent, deputy of a hazy picture, delusional construction, which the new cult will call God. Thank you. I hope this made you happy. Have a great day, and Salome.